Everyone says blowing up in the music industry is just luck. So I decided to test that. I made a secret Spotify artist page from scratch with no followers, no name, and no promo, and tried to see if I could get it to take off using only this strategy. Here's what actually happened. Now, I've been in the music industry for over a decade, and I've landed major sync placements with brands like GQ and Six Flags. I've produced hundreds of songs for artists, and I've released my own instrumental music that has done millions of streams a year. So I've been fortunate enough to have a lot of success in this industry. But I wanted to know, was it skill or all just luck? So I decided to start over from scratch. I made a rule that I couldn't use my social media, my other brands, my network, or money from other projects. Just a blank slate and a brand new Spotify artist page. And my name was hidden only in the song credits. And I wanted to see if pure skill and strategy could build another successful Spotify page. To see if success on Spotify was skill or luck, I started a secret artist experiment. This was my test. Could I grow a project purely off strategy, consistency, and good music? And this time I wanted to switch genres from lo-fi to calming piano music to prove that the same methods work no matter the style. My lo-fi music has done millions of streams a year across multiple artist projects like Sleeping Shark and Relaxed Vibes. And I wanted to see if I switched genres and tried a new style of music, if I could still find success, or if my luck was that I just picked the right genre. Here's my strategy to see if it was skill. I wanted a simple, disciplined strategy. I created my new project called Calming Cats, and this was built entirely around instrumental, calming piano music. Instead of chasing a viral hit, I focused on consistently releasing new music and steady catalog growth. Before dropping a single track and starting Calming Cats, I already had a full catalog of music ready. Every instrumental was mixed, mastered, and paired with the finished artwork for the EP or album, so that way I could stay consistent and release frequently from day one. And the question was simple: could strategy and consistency alone work in a brand new genre when I couldn't use my name, network, or connections? I wanted to release EPs and albums instead of singles, and I wanted to drop music frequently. So I basically built up a volume and a vault of music prior to starting Calming Cats. Now, here was the release strategy for Calming Cats. I wanted to release 60 songs split across 11 EPs and one album. I released every single week, 60 songs across those projects. And each release gave Spotify data to learn from and more music for listeners. The first EP that I released was called Cuddle With My Kitten, and I dropped it on August 22nd, 2025. And this had 4 tracks on it, and that was the first EP. Another part of my strategy to make Calming Cats a success was I wanted to create a YouTube channel, and I wanted YouTube to become my silent growth engine. I launched a YouTube channel for Calming Cats, posting long-form mixes and playlists. The goal of this channel was to create alternate routes for people to discover my music. And the goal was, once people discover the music naturally, they would then go stream it on Spotify. Or so I thought this strategy would work. I uploaded 11 video compilations of my music, and these videos had done about 1,900 views in total, which is some success. But I realized pretty quickly that YouTube wouldn't be the main growth engine for this project, not right now anyway. I had to do more. You can see these are some of the videos here. Some of them did pretty well, getting hundreds of views. Some of the videos only had like 14 views. So this was not going to be enough views to convert the audience into Spotify success. Playlist pitching was another thing that I did for the Calming Cats catalog. I sent a few of my songs. For each release, I would send a song to Spotify's editorial playlist through Spotify for Artists. But the main goal with doing this wasn't to land an editorial playlist, because this is a new page. It was to have my new release be pushed through Release Radar. To be on Release Radar, you have to pitch a song from your project. So I wanted to do that. Each new release became a chance to re-engage anyone in my audience who'd connected with my previous songs. I figured that this would allow me to build up recurring listeners, which Spotify is going to reward that. And frequent releases will give the algorithm something to work with, pushing my tracks to listeners through Release Radar. So I started dropping music all the time, and the turning point in this project was that streams started rising on their own. The catalog did end up growing through Spotify's ecosystem. And I'm going to show you exactly when the streams started picking up completely on their own. We're going to break down the data. I'm going to explain all of this. And then you can tell me if you think that Spotify's success is skill or luck. Here are the results of Common Cats. 52 days after my first release, 60 songs, 11 EPs, and 1 album later, Common Cats had passed 30,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. I believe with this, I proved that it's not luck. It's discipline and strategy. Success isn't just who you know, it's what you know, and it's what you build consistently. Algorithms reward activity, frequent releases, and smart optimization, and audiences like that stuff too. The full circle moment of this is that the principles and strategies I use to grow Sleeping Shark, which is one of my main lo-fi artist projects that has millions of streams, worked again, this time completely anonymously. Within 52 days of my first release, Common Cats had 30,000 monthly listeners and continues to grow to this day. And I posted this thing on the right on my social media to show people this, and this was the first time I announced that I had made Common Cats. And this was what I did. I posted this to my audience, letting them know that I started this and that I was beyond thankful for all of the support of this new music. And for everybody in my following, this was the first time they had discovered I even started this artist project. Now it's time to dive into the data. Steady, organic growth. Listeners came daily, Spotify radio picked up my tracks, and the monthly listeners climbed, proving this strategy a success. Let's break down all the data and explain exactly what happened. So first, we're going to look at the daily stream growth. All of this data is available in your Spotify for Artists. And what I did here is I put in my listeners from the day I dropped my first release, August 22nd, 2025, to October 15th, 2025. And that's 52 days right there. And what you can see is that in the beginning, the growth is very small, right? It's very minimal. You can see right here, there's almost no plays at first. And then I just continue releasing. And what you notice is every week, as more music comes out, the audience starts to grow. And there starts to be more people discovering this catalog. You can see that the total streams I'm getting daily is also increasing. And a huge factor for this is that there's more music for people to listen to. More music equals more options and more chances to get a stream. And what you can see is that I didn't really have any crazy days with any crazy spike. Like this wasn't like 1 or 2 days of success that got me to 30,000 monthly listeners within 52 days. You can see that it's a lot of gradual growth. And I think that's very important. Now let's look into my audience stats. So the first thing I want to look at is the stats. So in total, throughout the 52 days, I had 41,000 people discover Common Cats. And out of those people, I had over 117,000 streams. And the average streams per listener was 2.8 streams. This is a very important analytic to talk about. Spotify likes that people in my audience listen to more than one song. This is where catalog allows you to win in big ways. Because if you have more songs, it is easier for your streams per listener to go up. And 2.8 listens means that the average listener listens to over 2 of my tracks, almost 3. And that is a huge deal. And Spotify likes that. You can also see that my saves and playlist ads are significantly high. And what this means is that people are discovering the music and actually liking it enough to save it or add it to their playlist, right? These are huge metrics that are super important. And you can also see that my monthly active listeners is pretty high. Over 5% of my streams came from monthly active listeners. This is people who come back to my music multiple times. They're actively engaging. And out of 30,000 people who are discovering my music for the first time completely anonymously, 5% is actually pretty good. And I believe over time, especially if you didn't do this anonymously, you would be able to get this monthly active listener count significantly higher. And just like before, how Spotify likes how many streams per listener you're getting, on my active listeners, I'm getting 4 streams per listener. The average listener is listening to almost a full EP from me, because most of my EPs were 4 or 5 tracks. And the average listener was listening to almost the entire EP. Spotify likes seeing this data in your audience. Now we're looking at Spotify's algorithmic playlists and how this helped push success for radio and Release Radar. So the first thing you can see is that Release Radar is at the bottom, and it only converted 45 listeners into 49 streams. Release Radar didn't really add as many streams as I thought, since most of my listeners never followed Common Cats on Spotify, so they weren't going to get pushed on Release Radar. Instead, Spotify Radio became the biggest driver. And this was the real boost that came from Spotify's algorithmic radio system. This is where Spotify will autoplay my music after someone finishes their music that they're listening to and they've ran out of songs in their queue. Spotify would potentially play my song. And I ended up getting over 38,000 streams from this and 14.5 thousand listeners. This is a huge factor in the success, and you're able to get this push because of the data that we just talked about. I released frequently, and Spotify could see that when listeners listened to my music, they liked it enough to stay, and that I would even have some people come back and become active listeners. This is super important, and Spotify just wants to see that if they push your music, they get return on investment on that by having the audience like the music that they're promoting to them. Now, the business side of Common Cats was simple. I released new music frequently and continued to grow my catalog. The second point, though, was I needed to collect my publishing royalties. Even though it was anonymous, I wanted to register these songs and collect my royalties through my own publishing company, Elizabeth Music Group, because every time that someone streams a track on Common Cats, I'm entitled to a master royalty that my distributor pays, but I'm also entitled to publishing royalties that a company like Elizabeth Music Group would be able to help you collect. If your Spotify page is growing, that's great. Congrats on the success. But here's the truth. You're probably leaving money on the table. Every stream of your song or songs creates publishing income that Spotify and your distributor don't pay you directly. Every stream generates publishing royalties, mechanical and performance, that Spotify doesn't pay directly to artists. Without a publisher like Elizabeth Music Group, these royalties often go uncollected. Your PRO is a great starting point, like ASCAP or BMI, but to ensure global collection, you need a publisher who will register your songs with every pay source and collection society. ASCAP and BMI are great, and they pay royalties for the United States. But when your songs are globally being streamed like Common Cats was, you need to ensure global registration. And that's where my company, Elizabeth Music Group, comes in. Me and our team, we handle registrations for your songs and global royalty collection. And we also offer sync licensing opportunities through our exclusive Discord community, making sure every song you release earns what it owes. We have a transparent royalty portal and creative first deals that set us apart. We're not just collecting your royalties, we're building long-term revenue for songwriters and producers who want full creative control of your catalog. And with Common Cats, I had a lot of success quickly. And unlike other publishers who only pay out royalties semi-annually, which means twice a year, or quarterly, which means 4 times a year, we pay out royalties every month we actually receive them. And that matters because as a musician, you get paid faster and you get paid your royalties on a monthly basis every time that we receive them. The key takeaway of building this secret Spotify artist page to prove it's not luck is that understanding how the music industry works is key to success. Platforms and audiences reward active, consistent, strategic artists. I believe that all the strategies I used in this video can be replicated. Other musicians can replicate this, and even secret or anonymous projects can succeed. And I think if you apply these strategies and are also willing to do it as a not secret project or not an anonymous project, you can find even more success. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. And if you need help collecting your global publishing royalties, reach out to Elizabeth Music Group on Instagram or email help@elizabethrecords.net. We're willing to help you collect your publishing royalties for all of your streams on Spotify and any other DSP.